Hello everyone. Today we will be discussing the Melacha of Dosh, threshing. In the Mishkan, the Melacha of Dosh was done by threshing the seeds from their shells so that they could be used for dyes. The general prohibition of Dosh includes removing any earth-grown food from its natural shell or attachment. A Todah of Dosh is mepharic, squeezing. Amongst many things, this includes squeezing juice from fruit or liquid from a cloth. Included in the Melacha of Dosh, it is the prohibition of removing peas or beans from an edible pod, removing the husk from an ear or corn on Shabbat, milking a cow, squeezing fruit, specifically crushing grapes or juice and olives for oil, squeezing liquids out of clothing or material, crushing ice to melt, or defrosting something into a liquid is also forbidden on Shabbat. When the frozen item becomes a liquid, a newer substance has been created, which is forbidden on Shabbat. However, putting ice into a drink is allowed because the melted ice is not noticeable as a separate entity. One is allowed to do the following: peeling fruits such as oranges or bananas, or vegetables such as onions or cucumbers. Nonetheless, one should be careful of the conditions of beware, such as peeling it right before eating and not using a peeler, but one may think to use a knife or one's hands. Next is removing the shell of nuts, pecans, hazelnuts, filberts, peanuts on Shabbat. Squeezing a lemon on sugar or into a drink. It's permitted to squeeze out excess liquid in a food to improve its taste if it's done immediately prior to eating. For example, it is permitted to squeeze a pickled cucumber or remove some of its vinegar if one is going to eat the pickle right away. One may also squeeze out latkes from excess vegetable oil if one's intention is to get rid of the oil and it is done right before eating. It is also important to note that one may not clean dishes or even gently wipe a countertop with a regular sponge, because gripping the sponge will inevitably cause liquid to be squeezed out where one's fingers grasp the material. However, using a sponge which was handled or a vinyl back, one may gently wipe a countertop, but it is still forbidden to wash dishes. In order to wash dishes on Shabbat, one should buy a specific sponge that does not retain water, and it is made for Shabbat use. Similarly, one should be careful when wiping and cleaning a counter or table. One may not wipe a surface such as a counter or a tabletop with a wet cloth. However, if a counter is sticky, one may sprinkle water on its surface and then wipe it clean with a dry rag, but it's preferable to use a paper napkin. If a drink spills on a tablecloth, it is permissible to place paper napkins over the wet area to dry up some liquid. However, one may not press it against the wet area to draw out the liquid. Moreover, it is forbidden to squeeze out of one's hair on Shabbat, and one should not shake one's head vigorously in order to remove the absorbed water. One may, however, tightly wrap a towel on one's hair to absorb the liquid, because the liquid is absorbed immediately as becomes useless, but you cannot press the towel on the wet hair. Likewise, one may dry off one's body with a towel and doesn't have to be worried that he is going to come to squeeze it out. One should try to use a towel which one doesn't care if it's wet and won't come to squeeze out the water. There is also an issue regarding baby wipes. Some poskim are leaning to use baby wipes if one does it gently and doesn't press down, while others prohibit using up diaper wipes entirely and give preference to wetting the baby and then using a dry tissue to clean the child. One should not, however, wet a cloth and then wipe the baby. Lastly, before we conclude, I would like to bring up the topic of nursing mothers, as this too falls under the Melacha of Dosh. According to Ashkenazim, it is only permissible to nurse on Shabbat if the infant feeds directly from the mother. A nursing mother who is experiencing pain may express excess milk if it goes directly to waste and is not collected in a cup or container. According to Sephardim, a woman who's nursing and the baby doesn't want to nurse, to avoid a lot of discomfort, it's permissible to express the milk, but it should go to waste immediately, such as nursing into a sink or garbage. While it is permitted to nurse a child on Shabbat, a woman may not pump extra milk to have for later time. To summarize, some common activities to avoid on Shabbat that will fall under the category of Dosh include squeezing a towel or napkin while wiping up a spill, using a regular sponge to wash dishes. One should make sure to buy a sponge that is allowed for Shabbat, taking out frozen items to defrost, wetting a cloth to wipe a baby, pumping extra milk for a baby. Thank you for listening about the Melacha of Dosh, and hope you have a great day.